All right, so this next question that we saw on Reddit was, hey entrepreneurs, how do you come up with business ideas? Um, for me personally, and where I typically love when people do business ideas, it's gotta be something that you've dealt with. It's gotta be something that you've dealt with. Because, and here's why, it's not because things that you haven't dealt with, you can't solve a problem for. The real reason why a lot of venture capitalists or a lot of people in general think that the best entrepreneurs are serving a market that they've had a problem, so they're solving a problem that they've already had, is about longevity and resilience. It's those two things purely. Anyone can come up with a cool idea. That's why a lot of, I love startup studios. NoCap was one, or I had always thought that NoCap could be one at one day, but the reason why we never done that is because it's very hard to keep motivation going when you aren't really attached to an idea. Because building a company, even if you're building it to sell it, is a 10-year process, more nowadays, because the IPO windows keep opening and closing at intervals that are not advantageous for a lot of people. And so what I would really think about is how you determine what your business is should be attached to how long you're willing to go through the grind of getting it off the ground. There are a lot of people out there that support more of a micro business idea, and I like that. If you're not trying to make a ton of money and you're not trying to change the world and have like generational lasting impact, like what that's what I'm trying to do with NoCap, right? So I'm trying to make it so that we change family trees 70 years from now. So in that regard, I had to have that problem. I had to solve a problem that I had, because that's the only way that I can deal with all the crap that I've had to deal with over the last 4 years. It 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 becomes something that you could run through walls for because you know what's on the other side of it. Whereas like if you're not attached to a business idea, that might be something that you really want to pick up and put down whenever you feel like it. And that's okay, but I think that you should make sure that the resources that you marshal for that micro business is not the same resources that you would marshal for a huge impact company, because it's going to be extremely hard. And that's why you find that a lot of startup studios, they'll launch companies, but they won't be as successful as they could be. And that's because the people who are starting those companies are looking for gaps in the market. And a lot of times gaps in the market are a very efficient way and an optimized way to choose business ideas. But it means that the belief of building this company, that it's because you see a gap in the market, going out and finding an entrepreneur or a CEO that can come in and run that company, it gets a lot harder to do, especially at scale, because you need to start from a sense of, I've had this problem. You need to have an entrepreneur or CEO that comes in that is acutely aware of this problem and really wants to solve it, not fake. A lot of times they'll hire entrepreneurs who say that they want to solve that problem, but in reality, like, they just want to launch a company that's really cool and they just want to have a product team behind them and XYZ. So that's the reason why a lot of startup studios, a lot of corporate innovation labs don't work, is because people aren't really tied to that problem. Because entrepreneurship, as predictable as entrepreneurship is, it is predictably very hard. Like, I've run into maybe 2 or 3 companies that I've personally like worked with or advised or invested in, that have had real product market fit out of the gate. Like, I mean, out of the gate. That means that they didn't have to tap warm networks to get intros to customers. That means that they launched and they had paying customers immediately, and those paying customers grew over time because they were solving such an acute problem in such a magnificent and incredible and intuitive way that the market kept pulling them. And those people got bought. One of them got bought basically right after they launched. I mean, I think they might have been in beta and got bought immediately, I think is what happened. They were in Atlanta. And so there's so many like that, or there's not a lot like that, but that's some way to view a specific problem, is like you're really going to have a slog. So you need to make sure that you're working on a product or a problem that you really care about solving. Hopefully that's helpful. I kind of wanted to give a couple of examples of when I've seen it work and when I've not seen it work. And a lot of times you can just Google startup studios and just look at all the products that they might have in their portfolio. And you might see one out of like, you might see them have a 10% hit rate because and that hit, that 10th percent, like that one that out of 10 that they hit, it might have an exit, but it's not a huge crazy exit because it's not a problem that those founders really like stayed up night being annoyed at. And that's what it was with no cap. Like, it bothered me. I still like get really pissed off at the problem that we're trying to solve because it shouldn't be here. So that's something that if you can get pissed off about a problem that's happening and then you get pissed off for other people that they're having to experience a problem, you're probably on the right track for finding a business idea for sure.